Oh, look at that. Miles and miles of easies. Miles and miles of easies.
Well, maybe if you put them in there.
Everywhere you look. Winglets touching the sky. There's the dragonfly. See it? There's another one over there in the end.
Probably the most important thing we found here on every one of ours is that, and I think everybody else has said this too, is that you get very large differentials in cooling with the different cylinders. And Terry and I did some work a while back, and we talked about it last year, and I'll kind of briefly mention it unless there's some real interest. Hopefully everybody's heard a lot of that. It's been written up in the Canard Pusher and stuff too. And that is that if you look at the pressure distribution in the engine compartment, the highest pressure area is close to this baffle. The air comes in, comes up against this, slows down, and pressurizes. So the farther aft you are, the higher pressure you are. Well, this is the aftmost cylinder. So on the bottom side, this cylinder has the most pressure. On the top, your pressure is closest to ambient, that is the lowest, near the outlet. So, as the same on the rear, is that you've got the lowest pressure. So this cylinder has both the highest and the lowest pressures on either side of it. Therefore, if you've got equal baffling on each cylinder, which is the way the plans originally show, you're going to get most of your airflow through this cylinder. This one's going to run cold. Well, that's stealing air from the forwardmost cylinder, which is the right front one. Therefore, it's going to run hot. And what you need to do is you need to restrict this cylinder, the left rear cylinder, by adding baffles, which you can see, and Brad's got it here, pretty much covering up the head. You need a very small amount of the head clear and a relatively small amount of the cylinder fins clear in order to cool that one properly. And as you restrict this cylinder on the bottom tremendously, more than you would ever think, and you look around and see some of them, how much restricted they are, what happens is this one warms up into the normal range and the one on the opposite side cools down. And it works very, very well. We've done every single one of them that we've tried, all four of them. And most of us didn't start with enough restriction because we didn't believe that you would have to restrict it that much. We couldn't convince ourselves to restrict it that much. We thought we'd have to undo it. And in every case, we added more restriction.
And it's light, which to me is important. It's very lightweight, it's highly expedient, but you pay for it on the other end. And so it's something that you're still in a tinkering.
Well, that's something I've had in mind that I'm going to plan to do.
It's really something.
At the time being, I had to get the heat away from it.
Yeah. Where's Terry? Terry! Want to talk about your engine?
So, just put them in series.
Is Mike here? Mike Melville.
So what had happened? I've got a 9.
Mike, we're talking about oil cooling.
Yeah. I've got an oil.
And we know you've we know that we've done a lot of weird things with oil cooling. We finally gave up, put 2 oil coolers on this. I noticed that you've gone with a very large oil cooler. Is that working? Okay, so you're up to about the same square inches as you're running probably.
I've got
in a conventional position. Okay, is that working okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
My oil would run 220, 210 to 220 all the time. Now it runs 180. There is the problem.
Okay.
You'll run it right on up there.
He's running synthetic.
Yeah, he's been running Mobil 1 to try to keep to live with.
Make it live at high
oil.
temperatures. Well, I was just wondering if adding the just square inches of cooler was the solution on yours.
Well, this was the solution to me, and I got that from that article that you sent.
Yeah, okay, well that's what we finally gave up on Terry's, is we tried every possible thing to get good airflow through the cooler, and on a 320, we just could not get it cool until we went to more square inches. And we kind of felt bad about that because it seems like a brute force method, and there ought to be a more elegant way to do it. But we tried a whole bunch of stuff and had no luck. And I know some people have had luck or haven't had any problem at all. So it does vary. I know Mike had problems with it continuously, and Doug also. So,
Yeah, this got a 9-channel cooler on one side and a 7 on the other. The 7 is about a 200 at the time was about a $210 solution, and they're just in series.
Yeah.
And block one off below about 45 or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and it works real well. Comes right up to the therm and stays there. But around this part of the country, like some of the others of you, it's hot in the summer, and before you couldn't even. You hardly had time enough to get from the hangover there to the runway to get off the ground to go up, only to level off at about 3,000. Runners needs to be about that.
so you rate all at one time. Well, yeah, you really want that very well.
I've never even seen 190s. The interesting thing is that it doesn't drop much below 180. The lowest I've ever seen is like 170. It just shuts off the cooler. The monotherm doesn't let the oil go to the cooler. And then the oil stays right where it's supposed to. The monotherm's supposed to regulate it.
Magnetos.
You want to get on the rug or something like the baffling.
And cruise, that was very, very good. But now, I'm talking in cruise, it's 261 and 240 around, depending upon how cold it is outside. And down low to the ground, it'll still be 280.
Yeah, mine are too cold.
Yeah, it has to be people don't know it. Your cylinder head temperature to produce full power has to be at least 365 degrees. This is something I've learned from the guys over on the dynos. If you're going to produce full power and they're below 365 degrees, forget it. But don't get them above 425. But actually, from 365 to 425 is really an optimum range. People say over 400 is not, but the dyno tells me something different every time we change it.
If you're looking for pure power, the harder it is, really, the more power you're going to get.
Yeah, and efficiency.
So 375 is a real good number to try to
I think so.
If you can get your engine, all cylinders to run in that, like you said, it's 360 to 400, I think it's going to last forever, and it's going to be reliable. But boy, guys that are running at 450 and 475, man, I'm telling you, you're going to have a TBO that's very short on that.
One of the other things I did, I call it lead on my airplane. I put one of these ADC oil filters, like the Oberg one, but it's a lot thicker, and it's really a heavy chunk of aluminum. But that is also on my plane. When you guys are talking about double oil coolers, I kind of copied Mike's and put mine up on top, and I brought the lip way back, and I had to extend it out, and you can see the top cowl, a piece of aluminum tacked to it. I'm kind of experimenting right now if I should lower it down or bring it back to bring the temperatures way up. But I actually, I guess, would have 2 oil coolers in that effect, but now I get very, very, very fine filtering of the oil. And of course now I put like 5 hours of mineral oil on the engine when it was new, and now it's running synthetic, and in about 40 hours I've used a quart of oil, and since that was only in the first 6 or 8 after I changed to synthetic, and since then I haven't even added a quart yet.
A question about this Oberg filter thing. It looks to me like it's just a screen. I mean, how is that supposed to be as good as a paper filter? They tell you, oh, it's a fine screen. Well,
I'll give you the idea. Okay, I'm also an AMSOIL dealer and whatnot, and I went into the science of it as well because in all the engineering aspects. The filter actually works because it's a large volume. Paper is porous to an extent in the holes that are in it, and this actually, when they did the test at Utah State University, they found out that they found fragments of the spin-on filter in the screen, so it filters actually finer. So there's the answer to your question. It filters out a lot better. And the other thing is, really and truly, what a lot of people don't know is that when your engine oil gets dirty, it actually works better than it does when it's brand new and clean. It has to have some stuff in it. Now, we're not talking acids, and we're not talking corrosives like that in your oil, but when it gets a little bit dirtier, it does work a little bit better, but you need to get the big chunks of dirty out. And a lot of people can argue this to the point, but I think when you get a guy
what's the micron rating on this filter?
Just off the top of my head, I don't know. I could look it up again, but it's very small. But the screens, the thing is, I have a light on there. I got a little push the test light, the yellow light comes on, it's telling me, hey, it went into bypass mode. Well, then I probably have to land the airplane and find out. And all you got to do is take the bolts off, undo it, drop the screen down, shake it out, clean it out with some aviation gas, look at it, blow it out with maybe a little bit of air, and put it back in, and I'm going again. And I like the fact of having clean oil. A lot of guys want to worry about temperature, but if your oil isn't getting clean, so what? You know. The other thing is, we've done some testing with bypass filters as well. There's a fella.
Let's get on the bus. Find Terry in white shorts and a radio.
No, it ain't there. And yet, if you go to FAR 91-111, they tell you what you can do and what you can't do flying formation. And that's where you find the words, formation flying. And 91-111, the first thing it says is that no guy will operate an airplane so close to another as to create a hazard collision. Okay, now there's the definition. You're close enough that you might fly. That's the best definition they got, because the next two
They got warm.
See him?
Yeah.
No, three of them. It sounds like they're really in play.
Going great. Oh yeah, this is a real blast. I think this thing is more cozy than cozy.
It is. The industrial tower, big two going 35 like that thing like that. I'm thinking in those days that 75 miles per day, I'll take the low gear up, and then I hit that 85, I'll take that
Okay, jump in, Tom. That's a nice clear water. Keep going, walk on by, walk on by. Oh, nice.
Tank filling part of it, there's a depleted uranium head which is very dense. It's not radioactive, but it is depleted uranium, and when it hits the tank and goes in, it'll penetrate, and once it gets inside, it starts falling, splattering out inside, and real uncomfortable for the people inside.
How many total hours, Mike?
I got 1876. Who else has got 1,000 hours? I don't know. Oh, come on up. Boy, all right.
I don't know if they'll fly around here or not.
Why is he holding a nose up? Is his wheel broke?
They can't take off. His wheels broke. He's just
He doesn't want to bounce on the concrete. Smells pine trees. Somebody plugged up the well. Hey, what are you doing in this house?
Same thing you are. Oh, great.
His parents moved here in 1882. They paid $685 for this house. They lived here until 1885 when Harry was 11 months old, and they went back to Jackson County, where they came from.
This is where he was born, right
That's
here?
the room he was born in, yes.
That's a nice little house.
On the wall, you'll see a picture of his mother there by the window, and a picture of Harry Truman as a baby. The furniture is period furniture only. I might mention that before you get it in your head that it is the catalog. The